Hello, and welcome back to the Kalopsia podcast. I'm your host, Sydney, and I'm so thankful that you guys came to join for yet another episode. And this week, I wanted to discuss changing your mind. So, if you guys don't know, I recently went to Canada to visit my sister, and it was a lovely trip. If you guys, I don't know if he's still up. We've got a furry friend on our hands here, if you guys are watching the episode on YouTube as well. We've got a little furry friend, and I have yet to find a name for him, but isn't he so cute with a little Canada scarf? But when I went to Canada, I was given a book by my sister, and it's called Take Note: Real Life Lessons by Tony Tone, a Sunday Times New York bestseller, a Sunday Times bestselling author is what it is. And I've been really enjoying it. And it kind of went hand in hand with something that I already wanted to discuss, which came to me last night. And I was thinking about the concept of, trying to chase your goals, that constant spiral of wanting to better yourself and wanting to chase your dreams and all of that. But sometimes we have this inner resistance, and we've talked about inner resistance and that level of discernment that's very helpful in navigating your day-to-day life. For example, if you go to your job and you feel like your coworker is, nice on the surface, but, there's kind of a weird vibe in the background, or maybe the way that they look at you doesn't always feel the kindest way, or little things that your intuition is going to ring its little bells on and say, oh, there's something a bit weird about that. There's something off about that, right? So that's discernment. And so how can we use discernment when it comes to the big picture, when it comes to our lives in general, right? So in the past, we've spoken extensively about, setting your goals, having that habit stacked, and making your days flow in a way that is going to push your goals further on their path in the day-to-day. That was what last week's episode was about. If you guys didn't check that out, I recommend. But this week, I wanted to take the other side. Let's go at it from the other perspective. What if you have your goal set and you almost do have it habit stacked, but you still find it hard to get that done? You still find a resistance within yourself, I don't know about this, I don't know about that. I know technically I should be doing this, I should be doing that. This is a goal that, a lot of people have. For example, I don't know if you guys watch Molly May on YouTube. Probably not. It's kind of niche, but she was a Love Island runner-up in season 5, I think it was, of the UK Love Island. And she's always been very active. Growing up, she was so active. Her sister is the most active person you can think of, constantly going on hikes, going on travels. I think she might have been in some sort of Navy or Army, something like that, or she does some sort of boot camp. I'm talking nature folk. And so Molly May's sister, as well as her husband, and just Molly May's family in general, her ex-boyfriend, I don't want to talk about it, cheated on her. They went through Love Island together. They have a daughter. Whatever. Let's just move on for that. Essentially, she's always been surrounded by really active people, and she's been very active in her life. But ever since she had her baby, she's found it a lesser priority to her to want to work out, to try to have this perfect fit body or whatever. She really does want to be healthy and wants to feel healthy in herself and feel healthy in her body. But at the same time, she doesn't want to force herself. She says, if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. And that's the kind of logic that I'm going through my life with at this time. That's what she said in a vlog a few months back. I can't remember when. And that example is very interesting to me because it comes back to this book, which I'll bring up in a second, where she's like, this is a goal that a lot of people have. A lot of people want to be healthy, want to work out. And this isn't the greatest example, right? Because this is actually something that's biologically proven to be helpful for us. But say that we grow up, and we grow up, and there are certain benchmarks that we are expected to pass in life. So one of these examples is by the time you're 30, you will have thought, in your younger self, you will have thought, okay, by the time I'm 30, I'm going to be married, or I'm going to have like 2.5 kids, whatever, a dog, a picket white fence, everything, the American dream. That's what we're told when we're younger. So a lot of us, when we go through life, we have these expectations of these goals that we want to set for ourselves, these things that we think that we are supposed to be able to achieve by a certain age, by a certain time. Hitting these benchmarks is the expectation. Now, this book brought something up that was very interesting to me, which is that it is so important to remember that you are allowed to change your mind, right? So just like Molly May in that example, she's always been so active. It's been a huge part of her life. It's always given her pride. Now, ever since having her child, right, a little child she pushed out, she finds that it's no longer something that brings her joy. She tries to get back into her routines, her workout routines, and it's not something that excites her. It's not something that makes her feel good. Feeding herself and eating her like guilty pleasures and all of those things, going on walks maybe, like that's things that bring her joy. And she was saying, in the vlog, it's just not something that I am willing to force myself through anymore. And so when you're thinking about this concept, right, of we are allowed to change our minds, it's kind of like, it was almost like a shock to me. I completely forgot that I am allowed to reinvent myself. And I'm going to read a couple passages from the book now. So the title of this little passage is Reinvent Yourself as Many Times as You Like, right? And this is under her chapter on confidence and identity. When you're still trying to determine who you are, you might present versions of yourself that don't truly reflect you. It's all part of figuring you out. Even when you have figured you out, some versions of you will still be seasonal. Don't be afraid to reinvent yourself or simply change your mind. Now, I thought that this was actually revolutionary because I feel like we think that once you've graduated high school is the time to, fly between the cliques. You might have an emo phase, you might have a posh phase, you go through all of these phases from the preteens up until that moment that you graduate, and then you head to college. College is also another time to, try to reinvent, try to play a little, whatever. But by the time you graduate, it's almost like that final form, that final version of yourself when you graduate, that's you, and then you only build up from there, right? That's the idea that we present to ourselves. We think to ourselves, okay, I have tried on all these different personalities in my youth, right? In my youth, I tried on all of these different personalities. I tried this, I tried that. Now I feel like this is kind of like who I'm supposed to be. This is who I was meant to be. Now all I have to focus on is hitting these benchmarks, hitting these goals, getting that house, getting that dog, getting that partner, right? So we think to ourselves, okay, that is my final form and I'm just going to build from there. But this is that huge reminder. You can reinvent yourself and change your mind as often as you can. And the key to finding out when that needs to happen is that level of discernment and your intuition. So going back to the example, if you're at work and you previously really enjoyed this job, you really enjoyed it, you worked really hard to get it, you did all the steps, you're like, okay, wow, like this is great. And all of a sudden you're there and you've been there for maybe 2 years, 5 years. And you're looking around and it's like, okay, I could climb up, I could climb up the scales, climb up the ranks. And, I've got my path set out for me, right? Like, this is what I wanted. This is what I wanted. This is the path I was meant to take. After I do this, maybe I'll go back to school. Maybe I'll do that. But, I guess this is the path. This is the concentration. This is the area of study that I've chosen. And I guess I must keep with it, keep it up. But what if that doesn't serve you anymore? What if you have that little niggling feeling like, something's off, something's different, something's changed. It's okay to pivot. But I think we're so scared of it because we don't even allow ourselves the freedom to think that that's even in our realm of possibilities. Like, what if tomorrow I packed up my bags, went to Bali, and became a jewelry maker? That's 100% something that's in my capacity to do. Is it something I'm craving right now? No. So I'm not probably going to do it. But that's something that is possible for me. It's possible for me to do that. And I think it's so important for us to remember that we're not locked and chained into these jobs and our surroundings and our friends around us. If the people around you don't uplift you and you're thinking to yourself, wow, like this isn't aligning anymore. This isn't aligned with me. Because the longer that you try to squeeze yourself into it, the longer that you try to push yourself into that box, fit into that cube that you previously built up, brick by brick, you built the cube and you said, this is where I belong. Once you're in it, it's like, wait, I'm in a prison cell, right? And that happens. It happens when you're 15. It happens when you're 20. It happens when you're 30. It happens when you're 60. We are constantly evolving as human beings, and it is crazy to think that once you choose a path, and I was talking to my sister about this, right? My sister was telling me that our parents' generation, they didn't understand because she's toying with the idea of, she's having a career switch kind of, and she's wanting to go down a different path, and she's really well set up in her current job. She's really loving it. I mean, she's not really loving it, but it's serving her. It's hitting all the stops. It's what she built up towards, but she's having this pivot, and she was talking about how our parents' generation, right? They just can't understand, why you would leave, why you would change, why you would pivot. They're like, why would you leave this house that you've bought? Why would you leave this career path that's set out for you? You have a clear path to the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, sure, it's not the best thing in the world, but you've got the path right there. All you have to do is walk down it, right? That's what is ingrained in them and what has been ingrained in us. Right? We're told that once you find that path, you stick to it. And so then it's like, okay, I've got that financial security. I've got my comfort zone. I'm good. I'm here. I'm there. But what if that choice that you initially made just doesn't make any sense? And I'm not even talking about this only in the sense of careers or jobs or anything like that, right? Even when you think about your fashion sense, or if you think about the music you listen to, or if you think about the people you surround yourself with, or if you think about that passion project that you wanted to try, and maybe you did try, right? You did try that passion project. You set up your steps. You're like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. And you tell your friends, I'm starting a jewelry business. Guys, it's going to work. I'm going to start that jewelry business. Like mark your calendars. 2025 July, it's coming out. And you're doing it. You're talking to all the people. You've done all the designs, right? And then you're thinking to yourself, that doesn't actually fit me anymore. I'm not so sure I want to do that anymore. I'm not so sure anymore, right? You're allowed to change your mind. Because what happens when you don't, right? Sure, you might succeed in that path. You might actually, because of discipline, right? Discipline, our other girl on the side, right? She will get us through. She'll get us through to our goals. If we habit stack, if we get that done, we clock in, we do it all. And you can push towards that goal. But what's going to happen inside, right? That niggling feeling that you're telling yourself, something's not right. Something doesn't quite fit anymore. Something feels off. I'm not sure that this aligns with me anymore. Are you going to keep going? A lot of us will. But the thing is, it's okay to change our minds. And I'm going to read another passage just because I thought this was so interesting. Okay, this is it. In every reinvention, I learned more about myself. And that learning brought me even closer to figuring out me. Soon enough, I stopped seeing reinvention as something to be ashamed of. I started to view it as a fun part of my evolution. Change was no longer a sign of weakness to me, but a sign of strength. Once upon a time, the words "you've changed" would send shivers down my spine. But the fact is, you've changed is only a problem if you've changed for the worse. Society often paints change as if it's indicative of something negative, like an inability to remain consistent. But is consistency always a good thing? Right? In my opinion, change as a form of evolution is wonderful, because nobody should stay exactly the same forever. If you're not evolving or growing, what are you doing? Embrace personal change if it means the you of today is better than the you of yesterday. Right? So even if you see this pivot, right? If we're still running with the example of me packing up, going to Bali, setting up my jewelry, and, I'm telling everybody it's going to come out, going to come out. I get there. I have all the prototypes, whatever. and thinking to myself, now I'm really starting to see that down the line. And I'm like, okay, maybe this won't work with the type of lifestyle I want. Maybe this is not going to work. If I quit, right? On one hand, you have that little nagging voice in the back of your head saying, oh, they're going to see you as a failure. They're going to say that you failed, you're not able to stay consistent, you're not able to have that discipline, whatever. But you and yourself know that if you were to keep pushing, if you were to achieve that, you would have had this kind of like anxiety inside your chest constantly. You're going to feel dissatisfied with whatever you are able to build for yourself, because at the end of the day, it doesn't align with what you want in the long term. You're going to have spent a lot of your time, a lot of your energy that could be put towards something that you actually really enjoy, and try to discover a whole new avenue, right? Because starting a jewelry business, if you're coming from my background, right, that's totally out of left field. But if I'm able to pivot, make that pivot and adapt in this direction, then now I have the confidence that if I want to pivot and adapt yet again, I'm going to be able to get there. And the more I pivot and pivot and pivot, eventually I'm going to find the key that's going to lead me to the path I want to go down. But if you are not able to feel comfortable within that change, without that sense of security, without that comfort blanket, that's where you're going to end up leading your life down a path of expectations and fulfilling other people's expectations. Because we have to remember that a lot of these things that are ingrained in us, like we talked about in the self-sabotage episode, your limiting beliefs, all of that, all of your core beliefs, those will be cemented by the time you hit age 7. So do you want to keep living by what your 7-year-old believes you're capable of and what your 7-year-old wanted and dreamt of doing? Or do you want to play around a little? Life is play. I think we forget that. Life is literally play. It's play in the fields that you tried and embark upon. It's play in the romantic relationships that you fall in love with, fall out of love with. It's play in the friendships that you develop. It's play in the experiences that you go on. It's play. And I think that we forget to play. We think that we are statues in Greece or something. But really, we're moving ships. We can, what is it called? Yield. I don't know boat terms, but I'm pretty sure there's like a sail thing that if you like pull it really hard, then it like veers the sail. Anyway, you guys know what I mean. We need to remember this capacity for ourselves, that we are able to evolve. We're able to adapt to change, but you won't be able to do that until you try to take that first step. And I saw a TikTok recently. I'm trying to remember what the biggest message was. But she was saying that the biggest confidence that you'll be able to build within yourself is from adaptability to change. Because once you find yourself adaptable to change, once you feel comfortable with change, comfortable with the unknown, literally anything that comes your way is child's play. Right? If you're taking my situation with my school, right? I've talked about it a few times on the podcast. My mom's workplace cut off her sick pay, are withholding her pension, and I work a coffee shop job a few times a week while I'm at school, and I make about $800 a month. And now I have a $14,000 overdue outstanding bill, and I'm not going to be able to pay it, right? And I'm thinking to myself, wow, that's going to change some things. I'm no longer going to go to school. I'm no longer going to see the same people I used to. I no longer have a set path ahead of me in my future. Sure, I have my law of assumption that I will graduate. How I will get there, I have no idea. There are so many unknowns. And once you build that adaptability to change, literally anything that comes your way is child's play. Honestly. And it will take experience on your end to really believe it, right? But I'm here as an example, if you'd like. That really, once you build that malleableness, that adaptability, you'll understand that any curveball, any downfall is just another little shove, a little kick into different levels of the universe. And you're like, okay, that wasn't meant for me, so I'm going to go this way, maybe this isn't meant for me, maybe I'll get there later, but maybe I have to go through these little waves first before I can really get there so I can really appreciate it, right? We just don't know. So it's really, really important to remember this lesson, that it is okay to change your mind. It is very okay to change your mind. And if your goals don't excite you, maybe change those goals, Maybe pivot where you wanted to put your energy towards. You know, if you had this goal and set in mind, you want to start a YouTube channel, post 15 times a month. I don't know why that numerical value came out, but if you want to post twice a month on YouTube, and that is your goal, that's what you want to do, that's been your goal for the past 10 years, right? You've always wanted to do it, you always told your younger self you'd do it, and when it boils down to it, you know, a few months have gone by, you're trying to do it, but you feel that inner sense of resistance, like, oh, you know, I really wanted this, I really did want this, but now I kind of like don't. But, you know, I have to stay true to my younger self, so I gotta keep pushing, gotta keep trotting along. Maybe that's not what you want, this current you wants right now. So change that goal. It doesn't mean that you can't be creative in other ways. It can't be that your voice doesn't matter and that people don't want to listen to what you have to say. It's just that that format might not work for you. That goal might not be it for you anymore. So it's all about just reframing and listening to that intuition and becoming comfortable in adoption. But I think that's all I have for you guys this week. I really hope that you enjoyed. I have been loving all of the feedback on the TikTok. If you guys want to reach out, it's at Kalopsiapod, Kalopsiapod on Instagram and TikTok, and at SydneyJotita, SydneyDjotita on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube if you want to check out my personals. And all the Kalopsia podcast videos are on that YouTube channel. But if you just look up Kalopsia Podcast with Sydney, it'll pop up. But I really hope that you guys enjoyed. I'm so thankful for you guys joining us. Keep your head in the clouds and try to find the beauty where you can find it. And it might just be in that terrifying, debilitating change that is happening. And just know that the more change you go through, the more adapting you have to do, the stronger you will come out of it, and the more dependable you will be to yourself. And you'll feel so much more comfortable within yourself. Okay, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. And again, reach out, leave a comment, leave a review, whatever. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.